He didn't ask for a parade. He didn't need special treatment. After 21 years of service in the U.S. Navy and an honorable discharge following a spinal injury, all Master Chief Patrick Walters wanted was a second chance at normal life. A job, a paycheck, a desk, something to prove to himself he could still contribute. He got the job briefly. It was at a mid-sized tech firm in Suburban, Ohio. Nothing fancy. Just a regional IT support company with about 90 employees, most of whom had never seen a uniform up close, let alone heard a real war story. Patrick was hired as an operations coordinator. He didn't complain about the slow systems or the fact that his desk was right next to the server room. He arrived early, stayed late, helped younger employees get up to speed, and even took over office supply management without being asked. In just 4 months, he'd quietly become the glue holding half the back-end operations together. Then came Derek Linwood, the freshly minted CEO from the coasts. Clean shoes, loud mouth, MBA from somewhere with a climbing wall and oat milk. Derek came in with what he called new energy, and it didn't take long to figure out who he thought didn't belong. Derek made his first jab in a staff meeting. "You know," he said with a smirk, motioning toward Patrick, "it's great we have diversity, but let's make sure we're operating at a civilian pace, right?" The room chuckled uncomfortably. Patrick didn't. The next few weeks were worse. Derek started dropping buzzwords like streamline, digitize, and agility. But what he really meant was, cut the old staff and bring in a younger, cheaper crew. Patrick was summoned to HR with no warning. "We're restructuring," they said. "Your role's being phased out." He asked if there was another position, maybe supply chain, technical support. "We're trying to remain competitive," they told him flatly. It's not personal, except it was because Patrick had received an internal email by mistake. It wasn't meant for him, but someone in Derek's inner circle had forwarded a string of messages that clearly outlined the plan to phase out liabilities. Referring to Patrick's disability, one line read, "He's slow, stiff, can't even lift a server box. What value is a vet with a bad back in a tech office?" He didn't even finish reading it. He just hit forward and sent it to his attorney. What Derek didn't know, what no one in the C-suite knew, was that Patrick had a Bodycam in his vehicle. It was standard issue for his private security license, and while it wasn't active in the office, it caught everything the day they fired him. The panic in HR, the smug face of Derek leaning across the table, saying, "You should have retired with your medals and stayed out of my company." The quiet resignation in Patrick's eyes. He didn't fight back in that moment. He just nodded and left, silently thanking Derek for saying exactly what he needed to build his case. What came next? Derek's fall began with a knock at the door. 2 weeks after being fired, Patrick was sitting in a quiet conference room across from a state investigator, 2 attorneys, and an HR rep from the company. The difference, this time, he wasn't the one under scrutiny. He had brought the forwarded email chain. He had brought testimony from 3 co-workers who heard Derek mocking his disability in the break room. And most importantly, he brought the unedited Bodycam footage, audio and video from the moment he was fired. The silence after the playback ended was so thick you could feel it. The video was damning. Derek's words were sharp, intentional, and cold. "This isn't the VA. I don't run a charity." That line alone would cost the company hundreds of thousands. Patrick didn't want money. What he wanted was accountability. But when his lawyer advised him to go public with the case, he agreed on one condition: blur his face, keep the attention on Derek's behavior, not his own story. A local veterans' rights group got wind of the video. Then a regional news channel picked it up, then read it. Within days the hashtags started trending. Hashtag fired for service, hashtag veteran justice, hashtag CEO Bodycam karma. Suddenly, the tech company wasn't just facing a discrimination lawsuit, they were facing a PR firestorm. Veterans all over the country flooded the company's website, leaving 1-star reviews. Several Havalia clients pulled contracts. And Derek, he tried to do damage control on LinkedIn, big mistake. He wrote a long post about workplace expectations and mutual fit, but commenters weren't having it. One user wrote, "Imagine disrespecting a man who wore a uniform so you could wear your title." Another, "You fired a vet with a disability and they smiled while doing it. That's not leadership. That's cowardice." By the end of the week, Derek was stepping down for personal reasons. His golden parachute, gone. His reputation, torched. The company issued a public apology, reinstated Patrick's position, and offered a settlement. He declined the job, took the payout, and donated 30% of it to a non-profit that hires disabled veterans for tech roles. The irony. Patrick never planned to use the It was just habit. But the day they treated him like trash, they forgot who they were dealing with. He didn't want to fight, but when the disrespect became this public, he let karma do the talking.